In the last section, we set up animations on our posts, but they're not animating one by one. They're simply appearing, and we want them to transition in with a fade-in style animation. So let's go back to our code and see if we can implement this. So the very first thing we can do to try and solve this is we can just add a style property to the div and then pass in opacity and transition like we did before with the other elements. So let's try that. Let's just copy the code in our render method and then paste it to the root div in our render posts function. So let's now save and go back to our browser. So if we go to our form, it does seem like it is kind of working. And let's try going to another page. And no, if we go to another page, it doesn't work anymore. Because remember, we set the opacity in local state, so our opacity is 1 now, so it doesn't go back to 0 automatically. You can try setting it back to 0 in the handle page change function, but I can save you some time and tell you it doesn't work at all. How we'll instead do this is through the keyframes that's part of CSS. And keyframes essentially allow us to have custom animation functions. And again, we'll see this in a second. So the first thing we can do is get rid of the style property to our root div in render post. And then let's go in our app.css file and begin setting up this keyframe. And the first thing we'll do is create a class of card styles, and we'll initialize it with an opacity of 1. And next we have our keyframe. So keyframes are created with @keyframes and then the name of the function we want. And again, this is user defined and we could make this anything. So let's just call it fade in. Then we need our curly brackets, and inside we have a from and to. So essentially the first animation is going to be the beginning animation and the beginning state of the element we want to style. And the second one is going to be the final result that the animation will take. So again, and 0 means 0% when the element is at the beginning, the very beginning of the render. And 100% is going to be the final stage that the element will be in. And so we want our element to be 0 opacity when it first starts, and then 100% it will be completely filled. It will be in opacity of 1. And again, this is going to be a fade in transition. So now in our card styles class, we actually use this keyframe that we just created. Because remember, a keyframe is just a custom function. So to actually use this custom function in our card styles, we do animation name and then fade in. Then we do the animation timing function, which will just do ease in. And then the animation duration will just set to 2 seconds. And that's it. We can now pass this class into our div in the render post functional component. So we can just go back to our file and then class name equals card styles. And we don't have to pass in the keyframes here. Remember, we just pass in the keyframe to our card styles in app.css. So let's go back to our app and test. And if we click on the form, we do see, yes, it is working as expected. This is a much nicer, cleaner animation. And you can clearly see that each post is animating by itself. There's a very clear sequential animation happening here. And let's click on the next page. And yes, the same thing. Our posts are animating in the same exact way as they did before. So this is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. Awesome.